my video, so don't worry. You guys can start lying down on your backs with your knees bent and your feet planted on the ground. And just beginning here, noticing how the spine feels as it's supported by the earth, how the hips feel, what the feet feel like as they plant down into the ground. Maybe bringing the hands to the belly and just closing the eyes and feeling the breath come in and out. Settling yourself into the practice, into the space of practice. Letting your inhales fill the body from the belly up to the chest. And exhale, letting yourself melt down into the ground as the body empties of air. Walk your feet out so they come to the edges of the mat. You can lift your hips up and put them back down. Feel the lower back sort of smoothing out along the ground. And you can bring your arms out to a T or into a cactus shape. Inhaling here in the center. Exhale, let the knees come to one side or the other. It doesn't really matter. Inhale, brings the knees back up through center. Exhale, the knees fall to the other side. And just moving from side to side with the breath, letting the inhales bring you up through center and the exhales taking you into this gentle twist. And I do recommend keeping the eyes closed so you can bring the experience of the movement purely into sort of the sensation of it, feeling the micro differences from each side. Noticing if you have one side of your hips or your body that needs a little bit more attention. We're really just getting to know where we're at right now before we start to flow a little bit more. And the next time your knees come to one side, just stay there. Take a couple breaths. If you want to go a little deeper, you can take the foot that is the direction that your knees are going to and just bring it on top of that other knee so you can pull the knee down a little bit more, just weighting it down. Breathing into that whole side of the body. For me, I have my knees going to the right, so I'm feeling the stretch really resonating through the left side of my body, the left outer hip, the side of the left thigh. Inhale, let the knees come up through center. Exhale, come over to the second side and linger for a few breaths. Inhale, the knees come up through center. And extend your right foot up towards the sky, bringing your hands behind your right thigh. Flexing the foot, pulling the toes back towards the face as you gently pull your leg in towards the body, feeling that extension through the hamstrings, reaching up through the heel, really extending through the back of the leg, really bringing some life into the back of the leg or feeling the life that's already there. And your knee might be quite bent to get that stretch. And if you'd like, you can extend the left leg long on the mat, but just notice if you do that, what happens to the lower back? Does it arch overly to compensate? If so, keeping the knee bent and the foot on the floor is probably a good option to give yourself some more stability through the lower back, through the hips. And then bending your right knee, crossing the ankle over the top of the left thigh for a figure 4 position, bringing the hands to thread the needle, grabbing behind the left thigh, pulling the left knee in towards the chest. And you can use your right elbow to sort of push your right knee away from you just slightly, and noticing how that starts to get into our hips, and you can rock from side to side. I think that feels really good. Again, it brings some more length into the lower back. Keeping the breath slow and deep. And on your next exhale, unwind the posture, let both feet come down to the earth. Take a moment to recenter your hips, settle yourself, and then let's move to the second side. So your left foot extends up towards the sky, hands come behind the left thigh, finding this easy, gentle hamstring stretch just to begin, focusing on finding the length through the back of the leg. Heel reaches up towards the sky. Again, maybe your right leg extends long on the ground, if that doesn't put too much pressure on the lower back. Moving to a figure 4 position, crossing left ankle over the top of the right knee, keeping the left foot flexed as you bring the hands behind the left thigh to pull the left knee, or the right knee rather, in towards the chest. Breathing into the stretch, letting the breath gather intelligence about where this posture is for your body today. In all of our postures of our practice, if you can't find a deep, full breath equal on the inhale and the exhale, then maybe you can consider pulling back from the extremity that you're pushing your body into the shape with. letting both feet come back down to the ground, planting the feet just out of reach of the fingertips. The heels are in line with the hip bones. Feet are about hips width distance apart. Snuggle the shoulder blades underneath you, and we'll just come to a simple bridge pose, keeping the hands planted down into the earth. Use an inhale to push through the feet and lift the hips up, and really focus on feeling the weight equally distributed into the feet really pressing down, stamping down into the earth, and that's where the lift of the hips is coming. Feeling that opening through the hip flexors, the opening through the whole front side of the body. Press gently down through the back of the skull, press gently down through your shoulder blades into the earth. And exhale, rolling back down, the hips meet the earth, hugging the knees into the chest, rocking from side to side, and then rocking from front to back, gaining momentum, and flipping yourself all the way up and over for a tabletop position. Fingers spread wide, hands aligned underneath the shoulders, knees aligned underneath the hips, and let's just move immediately into some cats and cows. So inhale, arching the spine for cow, pulling the chest through the gateway of the arms, and exhale, curling up for cat, rounding the spine. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Keep flowing with the breath and notice what your feet are doing. Are they pressing down firmly into the mat, keeping some stability into this posture? And you might even tuck the toes. That can really help us open up through our psoas muscle, which is pretty intimately connected with all of this hip stuff. And then coming back to a neutral spine. Inhale, extend your right leg long behind you, flexing through the foot, toes point down towards the earth so the hips are squared down. And then bring your left arm up too. So you're getting this balance through the core, pressing out through the heel, reaching forward with the fingertips. And the points of the body that are making contact with the earth, feel them stamping down into the ground, giving you support. Feel the core working here. Find that steady breath. Exhale, let your left hand come down. Spin your right foot out to the left foot out to the right, to the left a little bit, and then bring your right foot down to stamp on the earth for a supported side plank. Right arm comes up to the sky, reaching out over the ear. Stamp down through the right foot on the ground. Feel the whole right side of the body lengthening and expanding. And exhale, unraveling back down to tabletop, tucking the toes, finding that grounding down through the hands. Take it to the second side. Left leg extends long behind you. Toes point down, leg is active, right arm extends alongside the right ear. Feel the polarity of the fingertips reaching away, the heel reaching away. Where does it meet in the middle? Press down through the hand on the ground, press down through the leg that's on the ground, stabilizing that meeting point in the middle. Finding the full breath emanating from that core. Right hand comes down to the mat, spin right foot off to the right like a little kickstand. Left foot plants down on the mat, reaching the left arm up and over to expand through the left side body. Press down through the left foot. Opening with the breath. And unwinding back down for tabletop, tucking the toes under, inhaling here, exhaling, hips lift up and back, downward facing dog, and really make sure today to pedal out the feet, bending into one knee as the opposite heel reaches down towards the ground, and then switching sides, feeling the backs of the legs open. And this movement, the sort of pumping through the legs, really brings some lubrication into our fascia. So if you're feeling tension building up in your legs and your hips, sometimes that's the muscles being tight, and sometimes that's this underlying tissue of fascia sort of accumulating, holding tension, holding stress. And walking the feet up to meet the hands at the top of the mat, forward fold. Inhale, extending the spine long, and then exhale, draping down over the legs, wrapping for opposite elbows, letting the knees bend as much as they need to support the draping of the torso down towards the earth. Finding your feet, pressing down equally through all four corners here, drawing strength from that firm grounding energy in the feet to lift the hips a little bit higher, extending a little bit more through the backs of the legs. Legs are super active, so you might feel the muscles of the legs trembling. Inhale, rolling up to stand. Let the arms reach up towards the sky. Find this full length of the body as you reach the top of the inhale, and exhale, hands come down through heart center. Stamastitihi. Gaze is soft. Body in equilibrium. Feel that there's some range of movement in the knees, so you're not locking out the knees. The feet are still sort of pushing you up from the earth like the roots of a flower. Inhale, the arms sweep up overhead. Exhale, folding in over the legs. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, step your right foot back and let the right knee come down towards the earth. Coming up to Anjayasana. You can keep your hands on the left knee to begin. As we feel that left foot planting down into the earth, I like to keep my toes tucked here when I'm working into the hip flexors and into the hips. It just sort of helps release a lot of stuff there. And then inhale, arms come up overhead. Shoulders rolling down the back, chest lifting up towards the sky. Let your left hand come down alongside the left hip, just fingertips reaching down towards the earth. Inhale here. Exhale, leaning over to the left, stretching through the side body. Inhale up through center. Exhale, coming over to the left again. Inhale up. Exhale, reaching over. Inhale, come up. Exhale here. And then inhale, reach back, arching into the spine a little bit more. Exhale, come up straight. Inhale, reaching back.
Exhale, coming up straight. Inhale, reaching back one more time. Exhale, come up straight. Inhale, both arms reach up. Exhale, hands come down through heart center. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, twist to the left, hooking left elbow, or right elbow on left thigh, pressing through the palms, finding the twist, feeling the inner thighs pulling your hips into a squared alignment. And then maybe if you want to go deeper, tucking the back toes, lifting that right knee up off the ground, extending through the back heel. And notice how that feels in the hips. I'm feeling a lot through the outer hips when I'm doing this. Keeping the inner thighs engaged really accentuates the work of the hips here. One more inhale. Exhale, unwind, hands come to frame your front foot. Step back for a downward facing dog. Take a breath here. Inhale, roll forward for a plank pose. Exhale, lower all the way down to the mat. Inhale, cobra, chest peeling up off the mat. And exhale, downward facing dog. A few breaths here, feeling free and in fact encouraged to bending into the knees, keeping that lubrication of the tissues going. And then on an exhale, making your way to the top of the mat, stepping or hopping, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, folding in. And inhale, rolling up to stand, arms reach towards the sky, gaze comes to the thumbs. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, left foot steps back, left knee lowers. Andayasana, beginning with the hands on the knee so you can get the hips centered, inner thighs pulling together, feeling this rounding down through the right foot. And then your arms reach up towards the sky. Breathing into the opening that's coming into your left hip flexor. Right hand comes down, reaching down towards the ground alongside the right hip. Inhale. Exhale, open to the right, reaching with the left hand. Inhale up through center. Exhale, reaching over to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, reaching. Inhale, center. Exhale here. Inhale, reach back. Exhale, come up. Inhale, reach back. Exhale, come up. Inhale, reach back. Exhale, come up. Right arm reaches up towards the sky, inhaling. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Twisting to the left, twisting to the right. Pressing palms together, twisting through the chest, maybe lifting that back knee up and off the mat without losing the strength through the inner thighs. Exhale, hands come down to frame the front foot, step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, roll forward, plank. Exhale, lowering through chaturanga, moving through a vinyasa. Your inhale is a back bend, cobra or upward facing dog. And exhale back to downward facing dog for a few breaths. Inhale, lift your right leg up into the sky. And exhale, bend the knee, opening it through the front of the hip, heel coming down towards the butt. Just feeling that opening. Left heel grounding down, left leg super engaged. Inhale, straightening out the right foot, squaring off the hips. Exhale, step forward, right foot to right fingertips. Inhale here, extending the spine long. Exhale, straighten into the front leg, lifting the hips, folding it over the leg for pyramid pose. Inhale, bending back into your lunge. Exhale, pyramid, straightening the legs, lifting the hips. Inhale, bend, lunge. Exhale, straighten, pyramid. Two more, inhaling for lunge. Exhale, pyramid. Inhale, lunge. Exhale, pyramid. Inhale, lunge. Exhale, drop left knee to the ground. Inhaling here. And then exhale, straightening into the leg, coming to Ardha Hanumanasana. So your right toes lift up towards the sky. Your chest reaches forward. And breathing. Keeping the gaze forward, keeping the shoulders on the back, and keeping the stretch in your hamstring rather than behind the knee. And if we want a little bit of IT band, we can walk the right foot over to the left. And if you bend slightly into that right knee, keeping the foot flexed, you might find that opening through the outer edge of the thigh. Bending into the front knee again, and just keep walking the right foot over to the right. We're going to come into a pigeon from here. So the right shin will cross the top of the mat. Left leg is long. You might want to walk the toes back to settle your hips down into the posture. If you feel like your hips are really like high up off the ground and that doesn't feel good, then you can always slip a pillow or a blanket or whatever underneath there just to support yourself. Taking a breath here, lengthen the spine up. And then exhale, draping forward, coming down to forearms. Letting the gaze come down to the earth. Maybe closing the eyes. And breathing into this, everyone's favorite hip opener. Last couple breaths here. You can inhale to walk the hands in towards the body, tuck the left toes under, and lift up and back, right leg stretching into the sky for a three-legged down dog. Inhale, come forward to plank, maybe keeping that right foot lifted. Exhale, lowering down to chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Pedaling through the feet. Feeling the difference between one side of the body and the other side of the body. And let's move to the second side. Inhale, lifting the left leg up. Exhale, bending the knee, opening, hanging out here and breathing. Inhale, squaring the hips, straightening that lifted leg. Exhale, stepping forward for a lunge. Hands framing the foot. Inhale, extending the chest forward. Exhale, straightening into the front leg, lifting into a pyramid pose. Inhale, bending into the lunge. Exhale, push through the ball of the foot to straighten the leg. Really notice how the engagement of the foot shifts things as you flow, using your inhale to come back to a lunge. Exhale for a pyramid. Inhale, lunge. Exhale, pyramid. Inhale, lunge. Exhale, pyramid. Inhale, lunge. Exhale, right knee comes down to the earth. Taking an inhale here. And then exhale, coming to Ardha Hanumanasana, straightening the left leg, lifting left toes to the sky, keeping the spine long, the chest reaching forward, the gaze looking out beyond the toes. Taking a few breaths here, just in this hamstring stretch variation. And then if you'd like, you can move into the more IT band focused version where you walk your left foot over to the right and see what that does for the whole experience. And it's okay to have a bend in the knee if you're doing that. In fact, I find that it helps me get into that IT band stretch a little bit better. Inhale, coming forward to set yourself up for sleeping half pigeon, walking your left foot over to the right even more, scooting that right leg back, settling the hips down to the earth. With hands in front of your shin, inhale to lift, and then exhale to come forward to forearms. And round down through that back foot so you're not just leaning all the way over into the left, but kind of trying to find this equilibrium between the sides. Always returning to the breath. Use an inhale to walk the hands in, lifting the chest up, tucking the back toe under, sending the left leg up towards the sky into three-legged down dog. Exhale here. Inhale, rolling forward for plank, maybe keeping the leg lifted for a challenge. Exhale, lowering chaturanga. Inhale, back bend, cobra or upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, the right leg lifts. Exhale, step it forward. Walk the right foot over to the left. Then step your left foot up so the knees are crossing. And settling yourself awkwardly down into this position where your knees are sort of stacked on top of each other. There's probably a more elegant way to get there. But here we are. And notice what your hips are doing. You can keep your feet pretty close to your hips if you're having trouble finding some balance on the ground, or experiment with rocking the feet out. You can always have something underneath your butt to help you feel grounded. And with the hands just resting on the knee, find a long spine. Inhaling here. And if you'd like to get more out of the stretch, exhale, walk the hands forward. Pressing the hands into the ground to send the hips back into the earth. Inhale to rise up out of the pose, unwinding the legs and switching the stack. So whatever knee was on top is now on bottom. Same thing, different hip. And notice that that's completely different. For me, on one side, it's kind of impossible to get the hips down. And on the other side, you kind of sit down pretty easily. Inhaling here. And then exhale, deciding if you're going to come forward. Inhale to rise up, sitting tall, untwisting the legs, extending them long in front of you. Flexing through the feet, pointing the toes back towards your body. Feeling the hips grounding down, feeling the spine lifting up. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, folding forward over the legs, keeping the spine long as you can, and then rounding in.
Resting the backs of the legs down towards the earth. Inhale, rolling up to sit tall.
Exhale, roll down to your back.
Shavasana. Toes fall open to either side, arms alongside the body. Let your next inhale fill the entire body, rising through the belly, rising through the chest, rising into the throat, holding at the top, feeling the body float. Exhale, sigh it out through the mouth, melting down into the earth. Letting go of the breath. Letting go of the effort. Sinking into the ease that we've created through the practice. As you're ready, start to bring a deeper breath into the body. And allow the breath to animate. Small movements turn into big movements, turn into a big stretch, eventually lifting you up to a seated position. Keeping the eyes closed. Letting the hands come to heart center. Oh. Bowing forward to close our practice. Namaste.